One MetLife Stadium Drive, one of the two NFL stadiums shared by two teams. But we're not here to talk about that or that team across the hall. Keith Ippolito and John Rad are only here to talk about the true football giants. We talk Giants football and wherever else the conversation may take us. So deal with it. This is the Shared Stadium Podcast. Hello and welcome to the brand new The Shared Stadium Podcast. This is a podcast where we're going to talk about everything New York Giants. Now I get it. It's a shared stadium. I understand. Y'all understand the play on words, but let's just be honest. I don't care about that green team down the hall.
Yeah.
I'm John Rad, my partner in crime, Keith Ippolito. Keith, what's happening, brother?
Not much, brother. How you doing, man? I'm excited to get this thing going.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this. Look, two diehard Giants fans. We are not in the tri-state area, so if you come looking for us, be prepared to travel. But we're not telling where we are right now.
Yeah. Maybe one day.
Yeah, one day. Depends on how much we upset you guys throughout this podcast. We're going to talk all things Giants. We're going to talk Danny Dimes. We're going to talk, reactions. Right now, as we're recording this, we're coming up on draft time. We're coming up on the draft.
8 days, right?
Yeah, about 8 days away. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and kick it off right there where, Baldy, he came out with the top 5 QBs. I don't know how you feel. We're going to start there. Let's go ahead and just lay the groundwork right here, right now. Keith, I'm not a Danny Dimes fan.
I have mixed feelings on him. So I have moments where I love the kid, and then I see things where I'm just absolutely scratching my head. So he had the one season where the interceptions were, out of this world.
It's what he did best.
Seemed like
it's what he did best.
100%. And then it seemed like, Dable came in and he kind of calmed him down a little bit. And I have another thought on this as well, as if I'm really evaluating the situation honestly, has the guy really had an offensive line to play around his entire career? So I'm not saying he's totally innocent, but I feel like I can't put the entirety of the blame on him. How do you feel about that?
I can't put the entirety of the blame on him, but I also have not seen moments of scenarios where, yes, he doesn't have an offensive line, but I haven't seen those moments of solid decision-making from him. Because that's the big thing that you can evaluate him on, where whether you have an offensive line or not, and I'm not comparing him, but I got to make the comparison to Patrick Mahomes. If you look at Patrick Mahomes, and we'll take away the magic and what he does with the football, it's the decision-making for me that makes Patrick Mahomes special. It's the decision-making, even for quarterbacks that I won't even take it to the level of Patrick Mahomes, but I'll take it to a scenario of a Josh Allen, I'll even go a little bit further. Jalen Hurts. It's the decision-making part that
I like Jalen Hurts, as painful as that is for a Giant fan to say.
And we're going to talk about him and his green franchise here shortly. And we're not bitter. We're not salty, but I can evaluate him on the decision-making, and that's what I haven't seen. And I give credit. The two smartest people on your football team should be your center and your quarterback. And you got a Duke guy. You think you got, the smartest guy possibly in the draft. He had Peyton Manning's, basically QB coach from back in the day. So you thought that's what you were getting. But I felt like the draft pick number 1 was a reach. You went too far with that. And then number 2, to give him the re-up. You went too far with that. And those aren't his faults. I won't hold that against him. But I have to look at the decision-making abilities of him. They haven't been there because he's had wide receivers. And I'm not saying studs, but he's had some quality wide receivers around him that definitely could have helped him out a lot more.
Yeah, he's had some serviceable wide receivers. I wouldn't say we don't have a bona fide star on our team, but he's not walking around with chumps, so I'll give you that.
You've had Darren Waller. I mean, that we've had him.
Yeah.
You've had a
Well,
safety valve and that's only been 2 years. I get it, but you've had a safety valve that you've had there, and that's not what we've had with him. But as the draft is coming up, as I've looked down this draft, as I looked up and down this draft, I don't feel like the Giants need to use that first pick on a quarterback. I don't feel like that's the best place. I don't feel like that's the best value. I think this is going to be a offensive heavy draft. I think we're going to see a lot of, and if one day we're going to take this whole thing, for those of you listening, thank you for listening. Follow us on, wherever you get your podcast, like, subscribe, follow. We'll give you our Twitter handles at the end. We'll put the information down below. But if you ever see me, you'll understand. Former offensive lineman. I'm a big guy. I think this is going to be a draft where we're going to see more linemen come off the board than we've seen in a long time. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think the Giants need that. I think they've made some quality upgrades at the offensive line place. I go back to what we said. We have Daniel Jones. I think we're going to need a wide receiver. I think we're going to put enough around him at this point in time for his inadequacies. We got to give him something of comfort. So, and I know everybody. Go ahead.
Yeah, he needs a playmaker.
Yeah, he needs that guy that. And what I would like to see, the person I don't think he'll be there though, is Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he'll be gone by the time we draft, but that's what I'd like to see.
I would love him too. I would be surprised if he was still there. I also like Neighbors from LSU too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a bona fide stud. I would be happy if we took either one of those two at 6. I would be totally happy with you. Would you be cool with going with Neighbors?
No, I like Neighbors as well. But once again, I don't think he'll be available either. Here's what I don't want. And I like the kid. I just think you can get him in this. I think we'll be able to get, some of the quarterbacks that would be available, like a JJ McCarthy. I think he'll be available in the second round. I'm trying to think of the
Well, they just had the kid from South Carolina, Rattler,
Spencer
McCarthy,
Rattler.
and Spencer Rattler, and I think Bo Nix was in. They had them visit as well.
And they're going to have them in. I mean, we have to face facts on something. I think the New York Giants realized, particularly with the injury, Daniel Jones isn't it. But also at the same time, it's not like you're drafting Jordan Love to sit behind Aaron Rodgers. It's not like you're drafting Aaron Rodgers to sit behind Brett Favre. And that's the comparison that I'm making, that, you're not exactly sitting there with a stud quarterback that you're going to draft somebody. We're still working on an undetermined piece of clay and wondering what he is. And then you're going to go draft somebody. That's not the best idea. Draft another quarterback. But another one I like, Malik Neighbors out of LSU.
He's on it. Wait, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
Here's what we know about LSU wide receivers. We had one. We loved him.
Wide receiver, you baby.
we loved him, and we haven't had one of those since him. And we let him get away, and he was injury prone. I'm not taking anything away from him. Odell Beckham Jr. For those of y'all who hadn't figured it out, ODB. We loved him. The way he progressed. So I think Malik Neighbors, that's what I mean. Malik Neighbors, I think he's another wide receiver that I think he'll be available. I think he's that leaner, faster one, that playmaker that can add and stretch the field a little bit more and can create some space that would give Daniel Jones the ability to get rid of the ball faster.
Absolutely. And I don't watch every LSU game, but some of the games I have seen, and people that I respect on Twitter, who have watched the tape of like a Daniels or whatever. It really wasn't until this season, until the quarterback, that he had such a fantastic year. How much is that attributed to having just an absolute stud of a wide receiver as Neighbors? I mean, it's almost like you just throw the ball up and he got it, man. No, you don't. Do you agree or no?
No, 100% agree. I mean, look at what, and this is not to take away from him. Look at what Russell Wilson did when that Legion of Boom run. Look at those wide receivers that he had. Now, I caveat this, and we're going to talk about this here in a second. He also had a stud running back in Marshawn Lynch. He had somebody to take, and he did some magical things in terms of his decision-making ability, which for some odd reason they went away from Russell Wilson. But I will say, if they could have gotten, and I know they wouldn't have been able to, but if they couldn't have gotten a deal on Russell Wilson, I would have been okay with Russell Wilson coming to the Giants for a year, 2 years, and then drafting a quarterback and moving. Because look at what Pittsburgh has basically done that.
Yeah, he's a veteran. He's not the Russell Wilson from when he first came in the league, but I respect him enough that I think he would be a good veteran presence in the locker room to have for a year or two, and whoever we brought in to show him how to be a good pro.
On top of that, he's not a bad locker room guy. From everything that I've heard, I mean, I know Richard Sherman wasn't a fan of him. Some of his former teammates on the defensive side of the ball, of the ball, were not a fan of him. But on the offensive side of the ball, everybody loved him. He seemed to have gotten along with everyone. And I think with a team like the Giants right now, you need someone that's not just a locker room leader, but a glue that can be a part of that locker room too.
I agree. I mean, until Dave's got here, that's probably one of the biggest things that locker room has been missing, is just a leader. So I would have been totally on board bringing Wilson in to go that route.
I think we've done enough. I think we did a pretty solid job upgrading the defense. So I mean, obviously, don't get me wrong. Looking at some of the names that are in, on the defensive side of the ball, what's his name? Latu.
Oh, out
of UCLA, the edge rusher is a solid option.
So, who's the Robinson kid?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And, even what am I drawing a blank? Quentin Mitchell, the cornerback.
Yep.
So I think there's some options out there on defense, but I think we've addressed so much, particularly on the defensive line. I think there's enough there.
I mean, honestly, I mean, if I'm being honest, I mean, you've got Phibbs. They brought in Brian Burns, and you got Dexter Lawrence, and I'm a big fan of Bobby Okereke in the linebacker role. So, if there was anything on the defensive side of the ball, I think it would be more, DB or because Xavier McKinney, I think that's a big loss. He had to go get paid, rightfully so. I'm not knocking him for him, but I mean, I do think that is going to be is a big loss for the team. I'm happy he got paid, but I would have loved to have him on this team still.
And who was what am I trying to blank? Who's the guy that they got out of Carolina?
Oh, Burns, Brian Burns.
Yes, Burns.
Yeah.
Once again, and for those of you guys listening, you'll hear us jump all over the place. I don't know what in the world Carolina's doing down there. That is a franchise that, I know it sounds like a lifetime ago. You got to just think it was just 8 years ago that they were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, 8 years ago, playing the Patriots, which is, I mean, it's
No,
kind of, I mean,
Broncos.
or
Broncos.
Broncos. Yeah. You're
It
right.
was
Yep.
just 8 years
Yeah.
and you had star quarterback Cam Newton. And to where just last year you had the first overall pick. Big difference.
Yep.
All right. So look,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and you and we haven't talked about this. Once again, you're listening to the Shared Stadium podcast. John Rad, Keith Ippolito. Keith and we've been buddies for quite a few years, but we haven't talked about this yet. He's gone. I'm happy. Let me caveat this, and I'll say it. Saquon Barkley, he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy he's gone because he was a good guy. He's a good running back. Everything about him is this good guy. But everybody's upset. Are you upset that the Giants let him go, or are you upset that the Giants let him go and he went to Philly?
So no, I'm not upset that the Giants let him go. I actually think that Shane and them, I think they offered him a pretty fair contract. It was like $12.5 million. And everything you just said. I love Saquon. He's a fantastic guy. He's a great locker room guy. He's a phenomenal competitor. Here's the issue though is that he's injury prone.
Yep.
And to give that type of money to someone who has that risk, it's hard for me to justify that. And I think him going to the Eagles was probably, all right, because Saquon, he views him as that Christian McCaffrey level, in my opinion. And this isn't, I don't want to sound like I'm bashing him because I'm not, because he's an incredible talent. But if I'm being really honest, I mean, he's not Christian McCaffrey, right?
No, he's not. Look, I mean, I think for the situation, he went to the best possible place for him. And here's what I mean by that. Taking the money out of it. The Eagles didn't run the ball a lot. Like, he's not going there to be the stud running back. So hopefully that lessens his load on the, and once again, I know this is a New York Giants podcast, but two things can be synonymous. I can be a fan of a player, even though they play for a team I don't like. Those two things can totally exist. I've been a fan of Jason Kelce since he got to the Eagles. I liked him all year long, except twice a year, and that's when he played the Giants.
It's hard not to like him. I'd love to have a drink with that man.
Oh my! I don't think he'll stop at one.
I no.
I don't think he'll stop at one. I think he'll be like, yeah, sure, we'll keep going. But I think Saquon went to the best possible place for him, and that's a kudos to him and his agent, because he has now gone to a place where he's not going to be the bell cow. In New York, he had to be the bell cow because he had to be the safety valve. But now with all they have there, with all those wide receivers they have there, with Jalen Hurts running around, I'm happy the Giants upgraded the defensive line, because we need to deal with that and shut that down, because our biggest threat right now in the NFC East is them. I'm not worried. I'm not as worried about, and granted, I know we lost them. I'm not as worried about the Cowboys as I used to be. Until I see who.
No, I'm not. I mean, granted, we always have a hard time beating them for whatever reason, but no, I'm terrified of the Eagles still. The Cowboys are gonna do what the Cowboys do. They just seem to beat us, and kill us, but they lose to everybody else.
I'm not even sure what that team's going to look like in a year. Jerry Jones isn't happy with Dak Prescott. I'm not sure what that team's going to look like in a year. And
well, hell, there's even been the rumors flying around about Dak Prescott ending up in a Giants uniform one day.
And I am not mad. Wait, hold on. I'm not that mad. I had to think about that a little bit. I like, once again, another player that I like, not a locker room cancer. I think there was a lot put on Dak Prescott, and I think it was unfair because once again, I told you guys we'll go all over the place. I think Dak
Yeah.
Prescott, there were things off the field that he had to deal with more than other Cowboys quarterbacks
Yeah.
had to deal with. Troy Aikman
Yeah.
didn't have to worry about his money the way that Dak did, and Dak has a better record. Not Troy. I'm sorry. What's the other one after Troy Aikman? In between there,
Yeah. God, why am I drawing a blank on him? Because
Tony Romo.
Yeah.
Romo didn't have to go after his money the way that Dak had to go after his money. Dak has proven way more that he's a better quarterback than Tony Romo, and and Jerry held off paying him, and I don't understand that. I don't get that part. So, but that's neither here nor there. I would be okay with seeing Dak Prescott in a Giants uniform, but I want it to be like, if not next year, the year after.
I would be okay with it too, but it would have to be. It wouldn't have to. It couldn't be like a crazy, like maybe a 2-year deal or something. We pay you big money up front, or the 1 year or whatever, but kind of like a prove it deal, basically.
But right now, what I want to see, I mean, look, we've paid Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
We're not going to win in the way the NFL is structured now to win. And what I mean by that is, we saw it with Patrick Mahomes. We saw it with Russell Wilson. We saw it where if your quarterback can come out, because at the quarterback position, there's a lot more pressure. There's a lot more stress on them than in any other league, at any other position. You got to come out and you got to show and prove in a year, because we need to win by year 3 and win a Super Bowl by year 4, so we can re-up you to give you that other year.
Yeah.
And we've proven, like, now we've already done Daniel Jones. We aren't just one play away from him. Not happening. Dak Prescott, it would need to be, like you said, a 2-year deal, and all the stars line up, because I'm not worried about Washington.
No. I mean, hell, they can't. Like, I'm sure you read that they invited all 4 of those quarterbacks to their camp. Like, what the hell are they doing there?
They invited me to their quarterback camp.
Yeah. They invited me to play left tackle too.
So I don't know. I don't care. That's a them problem. Here's what I care about is, let's get the quarterback situation figured out. But also, on top of all of that, I always butcher his last name. Mike Kafka.
Oh yeah, Mike Kafka. Yep.
What the hell? What does he do? I mean, he's been promoted. He's the new assistant head coach.
Yeah,
he's an offensive coordinator.
So I'm curious to see who is calling the plays this year. And I was listening to a podcast earlier today or yesterday. I'll give them a plug because I love listening to their podcast, the Giant Insider podcast.
Okay.
And I heard this point brought up, and I thought it was kind of a good point. It was, all right, so Dable's first year head coach. You bring in Kafka, and he's calling the plays or whatever, and you're trying to figure out the ropes. Your first year as a head coach, so you just want to get a handle on that. Year 2, Dable's feeling comfortable. Maybe he wants a little bit more of an active role in the offense and calling plays or whatever. And some articles I've read or whatever and heard on the pod is that, Kafka's been itching for a head coaching job. So maybe giving him this title is a solid to open up some other doors for him. Do you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. Look what he's done. And, he was the quarterback coach when Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl. So that he has that, and to the point of what I just spoke of, he has that where he knows how to take a young quarterback, get them ready to win. So when you look around the NFL right now in the landscape of, let's just say 2 years, who could be looking for a new head coach? I'll throw out one right away, an easy one. Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Mike Tomlinson's getting up there in years. He's ready to retire.
Yeah. Not to get off like we always do, but these Steelers fans that call for his head just
Who?
absolutely blows my mind.
Tomlinson?
You haven't heard, you haven't heard Steeler fans call for him to be fired? I don't understand that at all. Blows my damn mind.
That is the dumb. And Steelers fans, if y'all want to comment. They'll comment down below. I don't care. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard of. Look what number one, you get the honor of saying in the length, what the franchise has been around, 100 years? However long.
Yeah.
They've had 4 head coaches. 4.
Yeah, exactly.
4. And if I'm not mistaken, all 4 of them have gone to the Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken. So,
yeah.
And I could be wrong on that. I don't know. But all of them have produced. You haven't. And to that point, and this is what, to be fair, no, I won't be fair about that, because we've had some bad coaches for a stretch there. Ben McAdoo.
Ben McAdoo. Well, he was terrible, but
his ego
Pat
got
Shurmur. I think Pat Shurmur was worse than Ben McAdoo.
I knew McAdoo was not the guy when he decided to bench Eli and not let him get the record for most starts. Yeah, because you let your ego get in the way.
Yeah, that's know your fan base, brother. I mean, Jesus.
Know your fan base. To steal a phrase from the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, that was a moment of know your role and shut your mouth. The man,
pretty much.
Got us 2 Super Bowl championships. What he did, say whatever you want. He wasn't Peyton. He wasn't Tom Brady. Who. He has something that 30 other quarterbacks, or 28 other quarterbacks in the NFL didn't have. 2 Super Bowl championships. So boo-hoo-hoo.
Exactly.
And then here you come along and you decide, I'm going to bench you?
Yeah. Well, not to mention is I personally think him playing in that Green Bay game and the 49ers game, the beatings he took in those games and how well he played. Holy God, man. I mean, I mean, Eli is, put it this way, he's going to be forever a Giant, and Pat Shurmur is, I don't even know where the hell Pat Shurmur is these days, actually. I plead ignorance on that.
Can we give credit, though? And I don't think I don't feel like he gets enough credit. Can we give credit to Archie Manning? Remember, Eli Manning was supposed to go to the San Diego Chargers. And he said no.
He was indeed.
And Archie Manning said, no, we won't play. And he was supposed to be a San Diego Charger. And that's when the trade day happened. And it was Eli Manning and look at the bullet that we dodged. It was for Ryan Leaf. No disrespect to Ryan Leaf. I've met him. I'm glad you got your life turned around. But that was for Ryan Leaf.
Super nice guy.
But yeah, look at the bullet that we dodged there. Imagine where our franchise would be had Archie told Eli, yeah, you can go to San Diego. We end up with Ryan Leaf. And yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to imagine that. That's pretty bad.
Yeah. Think about that. Just let that soak in. So for everybody who hated Eli, just go back and let the butterfly effect happen and rethink about that.
But I know it is kind of bizarre to think about that. Yeah,
it's sad. I mean, once again looking at Ryan Leaf, I saw him and it was like, man, because Ryan Leaf was supposed to be. He was built to be the quarterback of the future. You're talking what 6'4", 6'5", 270, and could run. Oh. The man was supposed to be the quarterback and had an arm on him, but he had his own demons to deal with, and I'm glad he got his life together and good for him. But, but we still haven't answered the question. What does Mike – and I get it. It's a solid nod to give him a go-ahead, but I also feel like the stupid thing, and this is the tricky part, Dable could have just written his own exit ticket. If you already know my franchise, you already know – the players. You already know the system. Ownership likes you. You know the stadium. You know the people. You Let's not say this year, but next year you draft a quarterback. We like our quarterback. Everything about Dable. You got to go. I already got my next guy right here, and he's already grooming me a quarterback, and he's already calling the plays, and he's already got the offense together. You could have just written your own resume ticket and your own exit ticket, and thank you for your service.
Yeah, I mean that is always a possibility. I mean, it's definitely I didn't quite think about it that way. That's a good take. I mean, it's totally feasible. I mean, like you said, I mean, the guy comes in, he knows the offense, especially if if we get the quarterback, whether it's this year or the following year in a draft. Yeah, I mean it absolutely could happen. Would would you be okay this season if Dable was calling the plays, or would you prefer to have Kafka continue to call the plays? What's your thoughts on that?
I still want Kafka to continue to call the plays. Kafka has shown what because he's a quarterback's coach, he understands how to call plays to the strengths of Daniel Jones. And because Daniel Jones, let's just call it like it is. I'm gonna steal a page from I think I heard Cam Newton say it on a podcast. Since we're shouting out everybody's podcast here, which I don't mind, I'm cool with that. Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp's podcast. Daniel Jones doesn't look like he got that dog in him. And what I mean by that is Cam Newton, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan even showed it with the Atlanta Falcons, where they commanded that offense. And the only time they didn't command it for Matt Ryan was in the Super Bowl 28-3. But
I don't think we can throw that on him, though. At least I'm not.
And that's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. Even Russell Wilson doesn't have that dog in him. He has a championship, but he doesn't have that dog in him, because he should have two. If he had that dog in him with he'd have 2 Super Bowl rings, and he would have been able to say, no, I am not throwing this ball on the goal line. I'm about to give this to the biggest, best running back right now, and Marshawn Lynch, and we're going to bulldoze this in. He don't have that dog in him. But when I look at exactly, when I look at quarterbacks, and I say, that's why I say I know a lot of people even probably tilt their head. Matt Ryan, I don't remember what game it was that they were playing, and Matt Ryan was just going up to the line and turned and looked at his wide receiver. Hey, line the F up.
Oh, that's I know. Dog. Actually, I remember that. I remember that. I remember that game. I don't remember who they were playing, but he looked up, and which is just so funny, because me and you both working at our previous employer. Not that we can call Matt Ryan and but we had regular interactions with the man, and he was one of the friendliest and nicest persons I'd ever come in contact in this industry.
And for him to have, for Matt Ryan, the nice, I'm not gonna call him meek, but mild mannered.
Mild mannered.
Nice, mild mannered guy to turn and look down the line. Obviously, we know Tom Brady has that dog in him, because we done seen him celebrate like that. Daniel Jones doesn't seem like he has that dog in him just yet. And that's why I say Kafka would still make the play calls, because he knows how to play to his strengths. And I think there's something to be said about that. And who do you want back there? You want Dable making calls again, or you want Kafka sticking with it?
No, I not to play the agree game. But I do 100% agree with you. I would prefer to have Kafka continue to call the plays, because there's a continuity. There's a continuity. He knows how to call the play, scheme towards Jones, and and if we get a really a stud wide receiver in there, whether it's Harrison or Neighbors, I really do think that this offense could be I think it could be pretty impressive. Honestly, going into this season, I had pretty high expectations. So, and then just, I mean, obviously the first game of the season, the Dally, I was, the writing on the wall or whatever. So I was really disappointed going in, or disappointed in last, because I did have high expectations for this team, and they just totally regressed. But they righted the ship, and one thing I will, and which is why I don't call for Dable's or Shane's head at all, because the team did not quit on the man. I mean, in fact, winning those 3 or 4 games or whatever it was under Tommy Cutlets ended up costing us potentially a higher draft pick.
No, I agree with you. I mean, if you think about the NFC in its totality, if you take a look at that, and I pulled it up here real quick, and we'll go through real quick. Arizona Cardinals, dumpster fire. Seahawks, dumpster fire. LA Rams, they were very hit or miss. 49ers, we know who they are. That I'm not saying that they're bad by no stretch of the word. Carolina Panther, dumpster fire. Atlanta Falcons, they just they couldn't get out of their own way. The New Orleans Saints, okay. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you let, what's his name, Johnny Manziel beat you. Or not Manziel, who am I thinking of? The other from Oklahoma. Him. That's what I mean. From the Browns.
Yeah. Geez, why am I? This is gonna drive me crazy now. And Mayfield.
Baker, yes, Baker Mayfield, and nothing against Baker Mayfield. I think he, once again, I told you guys would go all over the place. I think he got a bad rap, and I think he turned his rep around. And I just think the hole was dug too far for him to dig himself out of it. But I'll continue on. The Chicago Bears, dumpster fire. Minnesota Vikings, dumpster fire. Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions, shockers. Yeah, those were shockers.
I was not expecting that. Not that I expected Love to be bad, but man, wow,
way better than I expected.
100%, and just to even further confirmation of that model on how to approach quarterbacks, which I wish more teams would do, is bring in your player if you think it's the guy and have him sit behind Hall of Famer like Aaron Rodgers, or if it's Aaron Rodgers, going back to Brett Favre. They've done it 2 times in a row now, and I think it's still early on Love, but based off of what we've seen in 1 year, it's looking pretty damn good.
The model, and that's why the draft is set up the way it's set up, and where you pick them up those 4 years, team gets that 5th-year option. It gives you that flexibility, and you're 100% right. But it's like I said earlier, every team is looking for the Patrick Mahomes that is going to come out year 1, year 2. And you're not going to see that, because on top of all of that, not only is everybody, trying to win a championship in the first 2 years of a draft pick, they're trying to get that revenue.
Hell, even Mahomes sat for what, 2 years, at least 2, or was it 3? Alex,
was it Alex Smith or was it Castle?
I thought it was Alex Smith.
It might have been Alex.
I thought it was.
Once again, a rabbit hole. But we
go down a lot of those, as the listeners will figure out.
You'll figure that out over time. But and then you finish up just the NFC East. The Commanders, dumpster fire. Giants, they were their own dumpster fire, because at one point in time, they got the guy who delivered Domino's Pizza to start at quarterback.
Hey, shout out to friend and colleague Brian Murph. Go Commanders!
No, we are not shouting them out. Absolutely not. No, I don't wish them any success.
Love you, Murph.
I do, except during football season. No, I got no love for them.
Yeah.
And then Giants, and then obviously the Eagles and the Cowboys, we know what they did. So there was a lot of opportunity there to just turn some things around. And this year, it was not the stars weren't in our favor. Let's just face it. With the whole quarterback situation, that was a big part of it. The stars, the odds were not forever in our favor. So it'll be fun to take a look to see what we come up with, to see what happens. We've been talking about how we were 8-9 days away, 10 days away from the draft.
Yeah.
Are you watching the draft?
Yeah, no, I'll definitely watch, especially the first day. Outside of probably the first day of the season or whatever. I mean, it's one of my favorite days. I'll definitely make a point to be watching it. I wouldn't even be surprised if I ended up out at a sports bar or somewhere watching it with a group of guys or whatever, and just because we were such a bad team, it's not like we'll be waiting until pick 32 or whatever to know what we're doing. So no, I'll definitely be out, be watching it. What do you got planned for the draft?
I don't think I'm watching it, and the reason I don't think
why not?
Number one, and I heard from and I'm not going to name, I'm not going to spend the whole time name dropping. We joke about that, but from what I've read and what I've heard, no one's going. It's going to be like 12 or 15 guys there. Everybody else is staying at home.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
that's that the players don't even care about it. Number two, and I know people are going to get on to me about this, and that's fine. I don't care. But the concept of the way that they editorialize and the way the pundits talk about situations for these players that have nothing to do with nothing. It doesn't deal. It does. It's not what they don't talk. And here's this guy. He was adopted. His mom was a crackhead. His dad was shot in a shootout. His sister, she has 19 baby daddies. But he's a stud wide receiver out of Oklahoma. I'm like, what? What does all of that have to do with what he did?
100% right.
I mean,
I'm with like all the filler stuff in between the actual pick. I don't really give a crap about any of that. If it was up to me, they would just, I don't know, show highlights or whatever. Like what, I don't really care, but just get the pick. That's all I really care about. I don't need all the, everything you just went through. It's pointless. It's just filler. It's filler material.
Here's what I tell you what to do. If you want to capture me, excuse me, go and find. Okay, so let me see if I can find. I want to just find the draft order here.
I had it up. I'll pull it.
Let's see here. We'll pull it. I got it right here. So I'm gonna pull up. Yeah, I got Schrader's. I'm pulling up here. Okay, so let's just make this plain and simple, and we'll have some fun with this. So with the first pick with the Chicago Bears, number one, first and foremost, you don't get the full clock. You know who you're picking.
No, if you haven't figured out your pick by then maybe you shouldn't be a general manager.
Exactly. You got 45 seconds to get that pick in. First pick, boom. Okay. Second pick.
Yeah.
The Washington Commanders. Go and find. I don't know who is Joe Theismann still with us.
If they're not taking a quarterback, then they need to have their head examined.
No. I'm talking about the filler. The filler. I'm gonna help you out with the filler here.
Oh, the filler.
You want to keep me entertained? Go and find a former Washington Commander. I don't know who you want to get. And a retired one. Is Joe Theismann still with us? John Riggins. Go get one of those guys.
John Riggins. Any of it, yeah.
Let him talk. Okay, they get their pick in. Cool, great. The New England Patriots. Can you get Tom Brady? Can you get Tom Brady?
Yeah,
Plain and simple. Let's not even sit here and sugarcoat this. New York Giants. He likes to talk anyway. Tiki Barber, what are you doing? You already have opinions all the time. Tiki Barber, you talk.
Oh, Tiki's got a lot of opinions.
Exactly. You get Tiki Barber. Let him give it. L.A. Chargers. LaDainian Tomlinson.
LT.
Arizona Cardinals. What's the wide receiver? Fitzpatrick?
Larry Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald.
Yep.
There you go. You're Fitzgerald. You can talk for us. Tennessee Titans. If he's available and he can do it, and there's no restraints, get Eddie George. Atlanta Falcons.
Or what about a throwback to Frank Wychet with the Music City Miracle? You remember that play? Sorry,
Keith?
This is how my brain works sometimes.
Keith, I think he just passed away, bro. So if you can get him, I think he passed away. All right, with the 8th pick. If y'all haven't figured out by now, we're in Atlanta, so I'm giving it away.
Yeah.
We live in Atlanta. Don't come looking for us. We don't care.
Yeah.
With the 8th pick, go get Brian Finneran. Shout out to you, B-Fin.
B-Fin.
Okay. Indianapolis Colts, go get Peyton Manning. Truth be told, I think this one just would be fun just because it would be fun. With the 10th pick, go get Aaron Rodgers. Go get an active
you can have and they could play the president's theme song does the vice president have a theme song? I don't know. I should probably know this.
Yeah, we probably should. But no, I'll even give you the back-to-back. Okay, go back. The Colts have the 9th pick. The Jets have the 10th pick. You go get Pat McAfee and Aaron Rodgers to do because he's already always on Pat McAfee show. You go get those two goofballs, put them together, but you see what I'm doing here. You go and you save all of that. I don't need the pomp and circumstance because, like I said, whoever the producer is, whoever the editor is, and with the 12th pick, the Minnesota Vikings seem to be looking at, so and so Jones out of Memphis, and he had a drug addiction problem. He was a crack baby. I read here.
Yeah, a crack baby, John.
So that's why I'm not watching it. But man, okay. So
I definitely agree with you on that. I mean, I look at it more as like a social event. It's a reason for me to go out with some friends and have a drink or whatever. If honestly we're being honest, like it's nothing that I can't just go look on Twitter and say, all right, so the Giants drafted Marvin Harrison or Neighbors or whatever. All right, cool. I'll go watch another YouTube highlight reel of him or read something about him, and that's it. I'm good. I don't need to know anything else.
And that's exactly why I'm not. I'll follow it on Twitter. I'll watch something else. Obviously, I don't know what day. Today's Wednesday, so we'll try to do this weekly. Keep you guys updated on everything that is going on with the Giants.
Yeah, maybe we can do another either a pre-draft or a post-draft pod. Maybe
we'll go post.
One of the two. We'll figure it out.
We'll go.
I think the post-draft would be better
because at least that way, if the Giants do something crazy and end up going to draft a quarterback out of Fort Valley State University, no disrespect to Fort Valley State, or go do something, just.
Hey, maybe they'll draft a kicker or a punter in the first round. Who the hell knows?
Exactly. And so with that's why we're going to do a post draft. But look, that wraps it up for us today. Catch us every week. You can follow us on, it's not Twitter anymore. It's X, but it'll always be Twitter. Follow us on Twitter.
Sorry.
Keith, where you at on Twitter?
I am at KSHip86.
And you can find me at JohnRad450. You can follow us wherever you get your podcast. Like, subscribe, follow, leave us a comment, tell us your thoughts. Do the most important thing, tell a friend. And here's the truth of the matter. If you don't like us, bite us. We'll talk to you next week.
Later.